provide innovative solutions, but it's also important to see how these are implemented and financed. And that's what we are going to talk about today. We are lucky that we have Teresa's team here, Charlotte Pusch, Fatim Kalingai, and Krishna Kumar. They are all advisors and experts in Teresa's project, the Indian Sustainable Urban Development Smart Cities in the second phase. And first of all, Charlotte will tell us about the process, the nice manual that they have developed, all the governance aspects embedded on it. And we will then hear from Fatim and Krishna about the Kochi and Coimbatore case. Before we do a little check-in and a little bit of interaction with you, I would like just to take the opportunity to present Charlotte, Fatim, and Krishna with a bit more detail so that you know who is talking to you then afterwards. And also to invite all the three of them to also react to some of the comments on the check-in that we will have just in a bit. So our first speaker will be Charlotte Pusch. She's an urban and transport planner and advisor in the SUDC project. In his capacity, she was coordinating the urban design competitions in Coimbatore and in Kochi. Prior to GIZ, she worked within German Municipal Building Authority and also at the Department of Transport Planning and Logistics at the Technical University in Hamburg, where she developed a spatial planning tool for planning authorities in a participatory process. Quite interesting that, Charlotte. I'd love to hear more about this. Then we will have Fatim Rashna Kalingai. She's an architect and urban planner and also a technical expert in the SUDSC project. She worked in various positions in India and the United Arab Emirates before joining GIZ in 2019. She's also pursuing a PhD from the Department of Architecture and Planning in the National Institute of Technology in Calicut, and her fields of interest are mainly sustainable urban development planning, integrated urban development, regional planning, human development, socioeconomic development of cities. And last but not least, Krishna Kumar. He's working with GIZ India in Coimbatore, also for the SUDSC project. And prior to GIZ, he has worked with international NGOs and development institutions in India and Europe on sectors related to energy, poverty, community ownership, digital governance, inclusive development. And his interests includes digital innovation, climate justice, and climate resilience. So welcome to the three of you, and also a big shout out and thanks to Nina Gressenhagen. She's also an advisor in the project and has been also supporting in the preparations as well. So without further ado, I would start the check-in so that we can have a little bit of interaction with you. And for that, Nina, if you could post the link in the chat. This is a Menti link. I think I also have it here, but now you cannot see it anymore. So by clicking on the link, you should be able to join the poll that we want to do with you. And I will share my screen again. So I think everybody is now used also to Menti, I hope. You can use your phone to scan the QR code, or you can go to menti.com and put these digits here. I remember when it was only 4, now it's 7. So a lot of use of Menti, or you can just click on the link that has been posted in the chat. Okay, I have to exit this. The second. What we want to know in the beginning, and I hope that you can all access it, is what are your experiences with urban design competitions? Even if we haven't really explained to you what it is, we are assuming that you know it. What is your experience with the topic, and if the experiences is within GIZ or outside of GIZ? And we see some results there already. Some within GIZ, that's good. Long-standing outside GIZ also there. none yet, that's not a problem. Then after that, that's going to be at least some experience, we hope, and also some outside GIZ. That's also very good, so that it's not only what we have implemented in the project so far, but also outside of GIZ projects. Thanks. That's a good overview for us, and quite well balanced. The next question is more activating your associations with the topic of urban design competitions. And these are just keywords, whatever comes to your mind first. And we hope to build a nice word cloud with it. And whatever comes to your mind, what you associate with urban design competitions. Nice. Oh, I hope it's possible to read because of the background. It's not so visible, but I will read out some of the answers. So participation, of course, co-creation, creative approaches, creativity, empowerment, that's very nice, resources, participation is becoming bigger, of course, that's the main aspect, engagement, renderings, needs-based, equity, change for young experts, innovative, inclusion, design experts. Children and youth is also there, transparency, inclusivity, concepts, fresh ideas, good solutions. That's very nice. So co-creation is now, and participation and participatory are the biggest associations, of course, with the topic of urban design competitions. Yeah, I cannot remove the picture now for it to be easier to read, but we will send this out to you also, the results of everything and also the presentation. So when we send it to you, we will make sure that you are able to read it. So yeah, participation, co-creation, of course, and we will hear about this also in the 2 cities in India. Very nice. Thanks for this. And the last is, what are your expectations for the session today? So we want to, of course, and understand a bit from where you are coming. If you have a little bit more of a general expectation, or perhaps you have something concrete already in mind, anything is valid. Just let us know. And we also want to follow up a bit later because we want to make this topic also a bit prominent and yeah, have a little bit more exchange on this as well and offer some kind of follow up, but we will discuss that afterwards. Peer-to-peer exchange, that's exactly what we plan to do. If there's anything concrete that you want to shout out already, otherwise there is time for these follow-up ideas also afterwards. Okay, create hands-on information about how urban design competitions were handled. Concrete information, experience sharing, learning from other countries, learning, understanding, and implementation action. More understanding about the participatory process adopting such initiatives. I think that's all doable as expectations, and thanks for answering that. You can still keep typing in, but I will stop sharing. And with that, thank you all for participating in this little check-in. And with that, I hand over to Charlotte for her presentation.
Thank you so much, Lucy. And thanks for the great check-in that gave us also a good picture, actually, who's sitting in this call. And I saw it's more than 20 people. Wow, it's almost 30 people. So we are really grateful. And just before I share my screen with the presentation, it's not 2 presentations, it's 1 presentation. So my colleagues Fatim and Krishna will just continue with the same presentation. Why are we here? So maybe that's the question. So we conducted those 2 urban design competitions in 2 cities in India. And lately we got a lot of calls and exchanges on this topic. So colleagues within GIZ contacted us, even a landscape architect school in Mumbai contacted us because they wanted to know how did we do urban design competition during COVID. in a virtual phase. So we understood that this topic is interesting, like we think it's interesting. So we asked if we can kind of place it somewhere and get into a peer-to-peer exchange. We would like to learn from colleagues. We have Irina here from GIZ Ukraine. They conducted urban design competitions. So I'm so grateful that you're here. We want to learn, we want to share, and we also want to promote a manual which we also created out of this project with a step-to-step guidance on how to conduct urban design competitions. And we have no idea if it's easy to be implemented. So it's a prototype, let's say it. So yeah, that's why we are here. And now I share my screen. We prepared a small presentation. I had some issues with sharing the screen today. So could you please let me know if you're seeing the presentation? Now I go on on the full screen mode. So maybe I have to unshare again. So can you see my presentation or the presenting mode?
It is in the smaller mode. You just need to go to the full screen mode now.
Yes, I will do it again. We had some issues this morning, so I hope now you see.
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, we are 3 colleagues from the project Sustainable Urban Development Smart Cities 2 because this year, January, the second phase started. So the 2 urban design competitions we will present today, they were conducted in the first phase. And I will start with the process on how to conduct urban design competitions, and my 2 colleagues, Krishna and Fatim, they will dive deeper into the tale of 2 cities, because Coimbatore and Kochi, we conducted a competitions same but different, let's say it like that. So of course, 2 different cities, 2 different stories. So that's the idea behind it. Okay, let's see if that works. Yeah. So why did we do an urban design competition? We understand this instrument as a good instrument for integrated sustainable urban development, since it is a participatory approach which the competition it tries to achieve. Multi-stakeholders are involved, and from the logic itself, it's very transparent, from creating ideas till implementing them on the ground. And the ownership of people conducting an urban design competition can grow by visibility and yeah, just like sharing and including a lot of stakeholders in the process. That's why we also use this tool to see if it's really working. We identified kind of 4 roles which have to be covered in an urban design competition. One role is the organizer. Yeah, he or she or the institution needs to also be aware of planning laws, have decision-making power. We also identified the role of a project management. So somebody has to kind of the lead of the whole process from the beginning to the end, also budget-wise, planning-wise, management coordination-wise. We also see the role of a process management. We see that a little different. That is more also the facilitation, designing a participatory process, all those ideas of creating a website, all those kind of services. And then we have the developer, which is crucial because someone has to have the ownership of the land where something has to will change. And we also understood those roles that one institution can handhold all those roles, but also you can outsource each role to a certain institution. And in our case, the competition organizer and the developer were in both cases in the city of Kochi and Coimbatore, the municipal corporation, kind of the city municipality. The project management was done by GIZ, and the process management, we had consultants supporting this process, one Indian planning firm and one German planning firm. So that's how we did it. Yeah, we developed a workflow. So really, as I said, it's a step-by-step guidebook. It's a complex process, but really, if you follow step-by-step, we think it's doable. And we divided kind of this whole workflow into 3 parts, let's say. It's this part before the competition. Yeah, everything which needs to be done before the competition. There's a certain outcome for each of those parts. Then during the competition, that's really from giving the design call, teams can register, till having kind of the winners in place. There's also a certain outcome for this part of the competition. And then, and this is something we tried out within the project, we also have this phase after the competition. Usually a competition can end after the winners are announced, right? But we decided on going a little step further because we wanted to take those designs and ideas into further concrete implementable products, let's say it. So the phase before the competition, there are 3 core elements. First of all, you have to be in exchange with the public, with authorities, with experts on what theme is actually important in this field. And maybe from the theme, you come to a site. It could also be the other way around. So maybe the organizer has already a site which needs to be developed in the future, and the urban design competition is a great instrument to do so. So maybe then the site is pre-selected, but then you have to go into consultation with stakeholders. And the outcome of this phase before the competition is the design brief. And this for us is kind of the core and important guiding document for every competition. So don't read the text. Of course, I show a slide with a lot of text and I say, don't read the text. I just want to show some parts of it. So this design brief, which is a document which gives all the regulation the participants in the end has to follow. It defines what products they have to produce. It defines the scope of work. It defines the themes. It gives already some more inside information. It tells you who is actually eligible to participate in this competition. Yeah, all those things are in a design brief, and we use this in our manual. We use this tool of kind of check boxes. So for each chapter, we try to formulate check boxes. So when you think about a design brief as the core document to start the competition, you definitely have to decide if it's an open competition, so everybody can join, or if it's a closed competition, so you have a selection of teams who can participate in all those things. And we can discuss later in detail. So during the competition, as I said, it starts with kind of the call. There will be a competition. It's open for registration. Of course, a lot of steps happen before, from this process management of creating a website, an ID, email ID. But roughly, this is an example from Coimbatore. You announce the competition. Then you have a deadline for registration. And then you check if those teams who registered are actually already eligible, formally eligible to be part of the process. Do they have really a firm? Is it really anonymous in this part? So, and when those teams kind of register, then we give out data packages with more information, more details. Then they have a time where they can ask questions. We answer them jointly on the website. And then there's the deadline of submission of the entries. And there again, I made a little mistake here. So here we definitely need to check again the eligibility. Is it really anonymous? Because design competitions are anonymous. You can't put your name on, because then we can't kind of judge independently. There will be then a pre-selection of shortlisted entries via very strict criteria. And in the end, we announced the winning teams after jury decided on who is the winner. So in Coimbatore, we had a jury of 9 members. It's important to have an uneven number of members, because otherwise you have a tie. In Coimbatore, 74 teams participated, 13 got shortlisted and 3 were winning. In Kochi, 9 jury members were judging in 2 days. Like, you have to imagine, we did it completely virtual the first time. So even the jury sessions were virtual. And in Kochi, we did a 2-day virtual session. Usually those judges are in a room, you lock the door and nobody talks to them. So it was a little tricky. In Coimbatore, we only had 1 day of jury session. 117 participants, 21 shortlisted, 2 special mentions, and 3 winning. And I have to be a little faster, I think. So the outcome of this phase during the competition is then the public display. So you show all the shortlisting designs to the public. And this is an example from Kochi. We had the chance to hang all those great designs up. It's in front of the municipality building. So that's the mayor of Kochi. He was introducing this, and it was there for 1 month. In Coimbatore, we couldn't do it due to COVID. But this is always a nice, like, ending the phase of during the competition. So after the competition, we decided to have the teams on a contract as a consultant. So we wrote the TORs for those teams. We onboarded the teams, did more data collection virtually again because there was still COVID. Site visit could only take place in Kochi because of COVID. So in Coimbatore, really the teams never went to the site. It was very challenging. We had this phase of interaction and feedback also within the teams to think about a common vision. And the outcome of this phase have been master plans, overall master plans, sub-site master plans, and DPR. And DPR in the Indian context are detailed project reports. Those are documents which are good for tendering, that the city can tender out certain infrastructure measures. But I have to say already at that point, like those are the documents, that we did not manage to make those documents to a stage where the city can tender them out. Yeah, we did not have enough fund, so to speak, funds to kind of pay kind of the effort that needed to be done to create those very detailed project reports. This is something really an engineer is doing usually, and also we see it more as the first step of bringing the ideas down, and the next step would be to create more concrete documents. And that was a big challenge, but we will hopefully discuss that. Is that then actually the right outcome of a competition if from the beginning the resources are too short to actually dive that deep into such outcome? And it was the same for both competitions. So the DPR, where we said good for funding, but not good for tendering. And last but not least, we created those 2 manuals on how to conduct urban design competitions. And they have the same content about the process, but in the one manual, we have the case of Kochi and the Kochi, so experiences from that urban design competitions. And in the other one, we have kind of the case of Coimbatore. And with this, I would like to hand over to my colleagues. So I think Fatim will start now with the tale of exactly those 2 cities.
Thanks, Charlotte. So the tale of 2 cities begins. My colleague Krishna and I would like to walk you through the tale of 2 cities, sharing the experiences of the urban design competitions conducted in Kochi and Coimbatore as part of the SUDSC project of GIZ India. Next, please, Charlotte. So we would be taking you through. Charlotte, next slide, please.
I think there's a little time delay, Fatim.
Okay. Yes. Perfect. Yes, so we'll be taking you through the process as explained by, as discussed by Charlotte, before the competition, during the competition, and after the competition, focusing on few key aspects, such as the spatial scale, the site features, focus areas, institutional mechanism, challenges, and aftermath. Next slide, please. So Kochi and Coimbatore are cities which are located in the southern states of India. Kochi belongs to the state of Kerala, which has a unique settlement pattern of rural-urban continuum and a model of development focusing on human development. The city is popularly known as the Queen of Arabian Sea, a major port city and commercial capital of the state of Kerala. Coimbatore is a landlocked city on 3 sides and bordering a river on the other side, belongs to the neighboring state of Tamil Nadu. It is often referred to as the Manchester of South India, as it is a major textile, industrial, commercial, educational, healthcare, and manufacturing hub in the state. Coimbatore is closer to Kochi than few other major cities in Tamil Nadu, such as Chennai. With a strategic location along with a long coastal line and abundant backwaters, the city of Kochi has been emerging as the financial, commercial, and industrial capital of the state. With a strong industrial, commercial, and manufacturing hub, Coimbatore is, along with Kochi, are among the fastest growing Tier 2 cities in India. Equally, the 2 cities have a sound environmental portfolio given their proximity to the Western Ghats. Since both the cities are in the pathway to becoming a major metropolis, the UDC process was crucial to entrench innovative, inclusive, and sustainable approaches to urban development. So here you can see the spatial scale of both the cities. Kochi Corporation has a population almost half of that of Coimbatore city. And similarly, the area is almost 35% of Coimbatore Corporation. Next slide, please. So this is the comparison of both the UDC project, which was conducted, UDC, the Urban Design Competition, which was conducted in Kochi and Coimbatore. So the organizer was Kochi Municipal Corporation in Kochi, and Coimbatore, it was the Coimbatore City Municipal Corporation. The Kochi, the focus was on a canal precinct, which is 1.5 kilometer stretch of a major canal in and the surrounding area, whereas in Coimbatore it was more of a land, almost 102 acres. And we had more, like already discussed, we had more participants participating in the competition in Kochi than in Coimbatore. And there was one additional phase in Kochi, phase 0, which was before COVID, which was a participatory process where the needs and priorities of the city was identified, and that was helpful for the developing the design brief as well. In Coimbatore, we had 2 phases: the during before competition, during competition, and after competition. Yes. Next slide, please. So, like we discussed, we'll be going through the 3 phases, focusing on the site features, the importance of site selection, then what were the focus areas of each UDC in Kochi and Coimbatore, the institutional mechanisms and the enabling environment, what were the challenges, and the aftermath of the competition. I would like to invite Krishna to take over from here.
Great. Thank you, Father. Before, so can everybody hear me?
Yeah. Yes, Krishna.
Yes. Thank you. So before we get into the characteristics of the 2 sites, we just wanted to reinforce the importance of site selection in this whole process for anyone who are looking to do this in their city. The first would be to ensure that the site you select and the interventions that have been planned in the site align with the overall vision or mission statement of the city. This can be done by reviewing the existing strategy documents at the state or city level to make sure that the interventions that we are proposing are rooted in relevance with the city vision. The second is to ensure that the site area falls within the overall city development plan or master plan. So we can have a prior understanding about the existing priorities and funding channels available with the city for the proposed interventions. Next is to ensure that the process of site selection and stakeholder engagement. It is crucial to mobilize non-state actors as much as you engage with state actors. So these non-state actors will be well positioned to continue the implementation efforts or continue the conversation post your exit from the project as well. And next is to ensure that the nature of the site or the interventions proposed are not over ambitious, but replicable, scalable, and implementable in terms of financial feasibility and priority timelines for the city. Finally, the most important one is the political will. We have to ensure that the overall outcomes of this process contributes in some way to the existing priorities of the political environment. All these points, they are to ensure that the outputs from the efforts, they have increased probability of implementation, and they do not run into the risk of becoming an academic exercise. So with that, I'll go through briefly the site we chose for Coimbatore. This was roughly 105 acres, and it was there are 5 key elements to the site. The subsite A was a waste dump yard, was a landfill site, which was closed down in 2003. And in 2007, as part of a central government mission, the site was scientifically capped and developed as a park. Subsite B, it consists of a mix of formal and informal settlements, and the main feature was the Sanganur Canal, which used to be a crucial waterway in the past for the city. But due to sewage disposal over the years, it has essentially become a drainage. The subsite C was also part of the landfill, which was restored as part of the exercise. And earlier, the city had proposed this area for relocating a wholesale vegetable market, which is currently located 1 kilometer south of the site. Subsite D is a typical residential neighborhood, relatively affluent, with good accessibility and close proximity to one of the main state highways, with some commercial activities along its fringes. And finally, subsite E, it was an apartment complex with more than 1,800 units for specifically for government officials, which was developed by the State Housing Authority. As you can see, the site chosen was diverse in terms of design challenges and thematic interventions. Further, in order to increase the possibility of implementation, the site was divided into 5 subsites. So the city can choose the required interventions based on the priority and availability of funding. And finally, more importantly, 4 out of the 5 subsites, A, B, C, and D, were part of either a proposed or an existing or ongoing city project plan. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Fatima.
Yes, thanks, Krishna. So Kochi has this advantage of belonging to a state where participatory planning is being strongly implemented since last 2 decades. So we had this phase 0 participatory process where consultation workshops were conducted at several locations, bringing together the local community from all the neighborhoods to identify and discuss about the city's needs and priorities. And this was helpful in selecting the site as well. So here in Kochi, like the focus is more on the canal and the canal precinct. We had 1.5 kilometer stretch of the canal and the nearby areas. We had 3 subsites, which included the canal precinct and the major transport bus terminal, canal edge. There was a college ground, then the streets, vendors, and waste management facility ground, community neighborhood, and backwaters edge. Next slide, please. So now we'll be discussing about the focus area. So these focus areas were also identified for the city of Kochi through this participatory process. And the objective of this UDC was to create an integrated blue-green infrastructure for flood mitigation with public realm and streetscape improvements that improve citizen well-being, livelihoods, biodiversity, and sustainable urban mobility. And we had 4 sub-themes, which was rethinking waste management, ecological sensitivity, mobility and walkability, and public placemaking. Over to you, Krishna.
Sure. In terms of the focus areas, given the various thematic areas for the particular site in Coimbatore, the focus area of interventions were diverse and it was also specific to the design challenges that were present in each subsite. For example, in subsite A and E, it was for the development of green spaces and turning the park into a visible green infrastructure for the city through improved accessibility. In subsite B, the focus was inclusive urban design and improving access to basic services like water, waste and wastewater management. In addition, the rejuvenation of the canal and waterfront development were the other key focus areas. Subsite B, which was a residential neighborhood, the focus was more on establishing connectivity through a sustainable urban mobility plan. And in subsite C, which was the market redevelopment, we looked at redesigning the market area, taking into consideration post-pandemic planning principles, as also looking at it through the lens of circular economy.
Yes, so Kochi city had this enabling environment of again, from a state where decentralizing of urban local bodies, the local government is strengthened, and that is being implemented at to the core. So the core the core partners in this UDC at Kochi was the Kochi Municipal Corporation, which was again headed by a mayor. Which is different from other cities in the country. So here again, we have this political will and the political enabling environment, which helped in implementing this UDC solutions. And the primary stakeholders were the district administration was also involved in this thing, and the transport authority, transport corporation. The secondary included the Kerala Irrigation Department, which since canal is a major focus area in this, and of course the Smart Mission Limited, of Kochi city. There were non-government actors as well, which included the residents' welfare associations, the vendors associations, the community development organizations, NGOs, and women SHGs like Kudumbashree, which have a major role in planning and inclusive development. Krishna?
In case of Coimbatore, the core governmental stakeholder was the city corporation. The other primary stakeholder was the Coimbatore Smart City Limited, which is like a special purpose vehicle for implementing innovative projects. Apart from these, there were two parastatal agencies, the Tamil Nadu Housing Board and the Tamil Nadu Urban Habitat Development Board, with whom the land ownership for 2 out of the 5 subsites came under. In terms of non-governmental stakeholders, the onboarding of the Vegetable Market Association, the Residential Welfare Association, and the community development organizations which were active in the tenements, they proved crucial to ensure the continuity in the process post its completion.
Krishna,
Can you see the next slide?
Yes. Krishna, would you continue with the challenges?
Yeah, sorry. In terms of challenges, the presence of multiple government bodies, in many cases with overlapping jurisdictions, it proved to be a bit tricky, especially for managing the expectations coming from each of these organizations. And then there were settlements, say, for example, in subsite B, which was the mixture of formal and informal settlements, where some of the residents have not been given the tenancy rights, and they were constantly living under the risk of being resettled. In those places, it was difficult to engage with the stakeholders. Finally, during the course of the competition, which ran for almost 1.5 to 2 years, there were 2 elections at the state and city level, which led to change in the political environment and also a constant change in the institutional leadership at the corporation level. With each leadership had its own set of priorities, which was difficult to navigate at times.
Yes, so at a city of Kochi, the institutional challenges included the multi-level governance, where the city and the state actors were also involved in the same precinct, canal precinct, and socio-political rehabilitation of vendors and settlements which were in the areas. Political environment, it was different from Coimbatore, though we had change of leadership and change of like elections happening both at state and city. The system in Kerala, the enabling environment, it continued. But here the challenge was the partner expectations of the implementable outcome, like what Charlotte had already discussed. So that was the major challenge here in the political environment. Next slide, please. So aftermath, so we since the district administration was already involved in the project, they've undertaken several projects within the district where the design solutions proposed in the master plan and DPR have been considered. And the Kochi Municipal Corporation has already allocated budget for revitalization of various other canal pressings also, following the same design proposals. And the subsite A, which is the transport terminal, the design proposal by the state actors have also been considering the master plan and the proposals. And the thematic, so this was a major thing, like the thematic approach of integrated blue-green infrastructure, where we were able to bring into the city's designs throughout. Krishna?
Yeah, in case of Coimbatore, in terms of key takeaways, one of the subsite outputs, subsite C, which dealt with the market redesign, it has been shortlisted to be submitted under the State Innovation Fund. But more importantly, the approaches, both modular or thematic in terms of urban green spaces or canal rejuvenation, waterfront development, these are under consideration to be subsumed under existing project plans with that are there at the city level. And finally, to make sure that this remains an ongoing conversation in the community, the core themes of the UDC process have been captured as a street art on the walls of the public school districts in the site. I think with that, we conclude our experiences from the UDC process, and we hope our learnings gave a useful snapshot into the competition. We hand it over to Charlotte.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Fatim. Yes, and since it was also the first time we did it within a GIZ project and in COVID times, we also brought some question to the audience today for the Q&A session. So one question we really have is what could be a successful output of such a process? Because we realized like Fatim said, the partner expectations were very high, but within the scope of work we could do as one little part of one big project, there was a mismatch of kind of expectation and what we were able to support. And also the question behind it is, what's the role of GIZ in such processes? The other question is also this upscaling question, like not only upscaling to what we try to do in India, that upscaling to state or national institutions, that future urban development processes should include integrated instruments, but also the kind of the vertical upscaling. Can it be used in different themes? Can it be used for different activities as participatory budgeting or something? That's a big question we have. And last but not least, out of a lot of questions, also this question of digital solutions, since this is also a theme from the TurboClick working group. So when to best make use of digital solution in such participatory process? I mean, we had to use a lot of digital solutions due to COVID, but I think there's also there are more maybe phases where it's a better use to digital solutions. Yeah, it's just an open question if you have ideas, and I would say we post those questions in the chat so I can close our presentation. And with this, we say thank you so much.
Yes, thanks so much, Charlotte, Fatim, and Krishna for this amazing sharing of experiences and this richness of structured process and learnings that you shared. I was trying to post exactly the questions in the chat. The last one is missing. Perhaps you want to do that one, Charlotte. And I think since we are going to take more time for this, perhaps just the straightforward questions. And I saw that there was a question from Annette, also managing expectations, and it has to do a little bit with your first question, Charlotte. So Annette, you can open your mic and come to the discussion with the team.
Yes, hello. Actually, I have had the opportunity to talk to Charlotte and her colleague before, because we are actually planning a new project in Rwanda. Well, it's not a bilateral project, it's a bit of a tricky construction, but which is supposed to support participatory urban planning and have also an element of exchange between Rwanda and some Asian country. So we were talking to Nina and Charlotte about that, and we would actually like to do also a competition. But with our specific context, we only have 2 years' time, and we have only got a very, very limited amount of money. So the overall project is only going to be less than 2 million euro, which is not a lot. And so I'm always wondering, because I always think that you have to, to scale participation according to what you actually can do afterwards. It's not, I think in participatory processes, you always have to do a good expectation management, but I think it's also wise to accommodate, to see what you can later do with the participatory input that you ask for. So if you already know that as we do in our case, that that your scope is very limited because you have very short time and very limited money. I think you're well advised to think cleverly about how much or how many people you will invite and how big you will do you will make the whole participation thing. So I know that's not really an answer to your question, but it's rather more reinforcing that point of view, because I think that participation can also create a lot of frustration if you later, if you say, okay, thank you very much, bye-bye. We will, it was very interesting to talk to you, but actually we have to disappoint you. We cannot put anything, you know, we cannot build all the things that you imagined here. So yeah, it's actually just underlining that. But I think that's a question that is it's quite sensitive actually. I have had that in previous project planning as well, when we did something together with partners and was before the actual mission, and then we're told that oh no, what you were thinking of was not realistic, and it was very frustrating for the partner. So yeah, it's just more reinforcing that point. So
Thanks,
if you
Annette.
have any clues to that, that would be interesting.
I'm looking to the team, or perhaps I'm not sure if Teresa and Shripati want to comment on what you have mentioned, Annette. Teresa, you were first. Is it direct to what?
It's directly to what Annette was saying, but I think Charlotte, Fatih, and Krishna can answer better than I can do. Just in the former project that I was supporting, we working close with the colleagues from GIZ Rwanda from the Digital Transformation Center. And Rwanda, and especially the city of Kigali, are doing a lot in the topic of slum upgrading, with a lot of money, with outreach, with a huge scale for the city of Kigali. And the urban design competitions in Kochi and in Coimbatore started from a very clear challenge. Not that there are no problems, only challenges. There were a very clear challenge for the partner cities, and we try to find a good answer to this challenge. I think this might be a good starting point for the project that you are planning for Rwanda. But they're great partners in Rwanda.
It's nice to see some connection here also, then from Asia to Africa, everything is interconnected. Yeah, Charlotte, I know you were second now on my list, but I will give the order to just, it's nice that MS Teams now has the order of the hands raised. Shripati, please.
Yeah, I come from the experience of running a similar competition. Good to see Iris there. I was expecting, where was Iris? I was saying, yeah. So we got a lot of inspiration from some of the Ukrainian experience which Iris used to share with us when we started. I started with a very apprehensive thing because it was pretty new at that point of time. So we ran this urban design competition for a stretch of canal again. What I see as a graduation from the state's perspective is when we started this, there was absolutely no ownership. They said it is pretty new. Probably you can go ahead as a innovative project. But what I saw in Coimbatore was there were a lot of expectations from different partners. From lack of ownership to lack of expectations, I see it as a graduation. But still in India, urban design competitions, I would say it's still at its nascent stage. It might take some time to graduate, because if you look at how things are planned here, an RFP's request for proposal is done. Somebody designs something and then they go to the public asking for inputs. Yeah. Whereas in urban design competition, we do it at earlier stages. So it's a sort of a new process. So, but we see good signs of this being accepted as well. So to the question of success, what is success in an urban design competition is, I think we should give ourselves some time and then question ourselves on what success is when it comes to urban design. I'll give you two cases. One is after the Ice on the Canal project, there were small projects taken up by the Greater Municipal Corporation who did not own it in the initial stages. Yeah, so there were references made to Eyes on the Canal project to some of the work that they're being implemented. That's number one. The Japanese International Cooperation Agency looked at some of the models and some of the outputs that came out of the urban design competition. And recently we're in a discussion with us on a flood mitigation control plan that they are designing for Chennai, especially the Spun City plan, which they are looking at. They're seriously looking at some of the aspects of it. So I think we should give ourselves some time, and then things would sort of materialize as well. So those were some of the points which I wanted to mention. Thanks.
Thank you. Charlotte.
Thanks, Lucy. So Annette, I would like to comment on your point. So this whole kind of word of participation, I think we had also this discussion, in which scale do we participate, which stakeholders, which stage. And also I think research is still not clear how to, in the end, measure the results of participatory processes. And I would say, I mean, overall, the idea of announcing a competition implements participation. But I think we can also divide it a little bit. If we see kind of, do we want to participate very early, very strongly, like we did in Kochi, in a phase itself, with a lot of resources, with a lot of time, really with a lot of resources, or can this process be also dealt differently, but also as bottom up? Then the phase of the competition itself, I mean, this is crowdsourcing, right? This is participation of also, I saw it in the word cloud, young professionals. I mean, we put the focus also that young professionals should participate, because we didn't want to have the same experienced people sitting there for the 10th time. No, we wanted to encourage young people to participate in such a competition. And then also the question is the phase afterwards. I mean, how to go further. I mean, there we can also include different instruments of participation. So I think we can decode this whole workflow and then adapt it accordingly with our projects and partner needs. And I think that's a great big task. And I like the word of this expectation management, because I didn't have that in mind, that there's even like this word. And I think it's super important. And we didn't have it like on our mind. So as Sudhakar said, it was more a work in progress learning process. But I think that's crucial. But I think we can also decode it. And maybe that's one first step, to see like balancing the resources with which stages and which instruments of participation, because you can even use within an urban design competition different instruments of participation.
Thanks, Charlotte. I think that's exactly like trying to see when to do things that are making sense, and then also always with the outcome in mind. And perhaps just before I hand over to Annette to reply, I think it's also because these approaches of participation, it's everything, we have been doing it, but it's not so systematized, and planning, the formal planning as we are always doing it, doesn't have that much, like people is not used to it. So we still need to change the mindset also, and then to learn from the mistakes, also have a mistake culture, that we can do mistakes and that we are learning from it also afterwards. But also, of course, we want to hear later also from Iris and Irina's experience in Ukraine as well, but Annette and then Fatina.
Yeah, I will just perhaps describe very briefly what we are going to, or what we are planning to do at the moment. So we are more focusing on buildings. We are focusing on multi-story buildings for low-income people. And we will have, I think, a 3-stage participatory design. In the first phase, we're looking at, well, what has already been done in terms of multi-story housing, and we would like, following that, we would like to hear from potential inhabitants of those buildings. What are their requests? What do they need in order for a building to work for them? And, you know, what would they like to have included? Do they need, you know, stalls for animals, for example? what are the design features that they need. And based on that, we would do the requirements for the competition, and then have the actual architecture competition, and have that's the third stage, I think, commented also or evaluated, which is also part of the design of the project, evaluated by representatives from several German ministries that have to do with urban development. So that's first the real, the beneficiaries, basically. Secondly, then the architects who design ideas, and then thirdly, the German federal ministry level that gives their thoughts on that and participates in the jury, I think. But within that project, obviously, with a given time at 1.9 million euro, we will not be able to actually build anything yet. So that may be a bit disappointing to the people who, in the first place, come up with ideas and then later see, okay, there are designs now, but until the building is finished, there's a long way to go. So I don't know. Have you any impressions on how hard or easy it is to convey that, to make that understandable? So we ask you to give us your ideas, but it'll take a few years until, if it works out well, until you can see that completed. Question.
Okay, that's a good point. So, Charlotte, do you want to react to this already, or someone else, if there is any experience on this? Otherwise, there were several hands raised. Perhaps there are other topics as well.
Yeah, directly, but I see also Iris has directly something to it. So,
yeah,
Iris, go ahead.
What is it, the word that, Charlotte, you said expectation, or somebody else, and you picked it up again, expectation management, I think is the word also for your topic, Annette. So that you actually say from the beginning that it won't be a realizing competition. I think that's the key thing, which might be an off-turner, but at the same time is kind of clear as a message. We are trying to improve something here. And the process is important, but we will not be able to realize it. And I think you will still find a lot of people to join in, because I think for many it's also the process of meeting between each other, learning to know each other, and even not only the citizens who might work there or live there, but also architects actually bring those people also together to have a cross wiring, because even if nothing is built, it's something that is connecting people for other projects. They have experienced each other in a process, and might not be that one that is realized.
Martina, you had also.
Irina.
Irina, yes.
First of all, thank you for invitation. It's really very useful and interesting. It's like the proverb, live a century and learn the century. I think that after our participation in GIZ project and work together with the expert Iris and another one who taught us how to organize such competition, we knew alone. But now I notice that it's really, you have a very nice experience, and thank you for summarizing your experience and for preparing such manual. We will be happy to also to have such manual in order to show our partners. What I noticed that we live in the different places, but have the same problems, have the same expectation. It's really very nice verb, expectation management, because when we organize such competition and when we organize such participatory process, we have to follow it, because the people who participate in these discussions, they always ask, okay, we provide you our opinion, and what you will do with this and how you will manage, because the different people and the different opinions, and that's why it's very difficult to summarize this opinion and to balance it, especially in the case if the territory is very difficult. We also, for the second competition, we are going to organize such competition to the territory near to the river. Iris knows this territory because we asked her to be a member of the jury, and we hope that in Ukraine the situation will be better and we will organize this competition. But it's really very, very important to say at the beginning that we organize, for example, at the first step, in the preparatory step, as you call it, there are different events in order to identify the expectation of the different stakeholders and to try to summarize this expectation in the brief, or we call this regulations for the competition. And what is very important for the people to organize this fourth stage, and as you call it, after competition, in order do not do competition only for the competition, but for the implementation, the different ideas which will be presented by the winners or by the different participants. And for people, for citizens, it is really very, very important. And when we start this competition, we already have to have the arrangement with the city authorities that they will follow this, because in other case it will be only frustration and nobody wants to repeat the competition again as the instrument for the city development. And again, thank you, and waiting for the UMNO.
Thank you. Fatima, I'm not sure if you want still to comment. You were next in the list, but you posted something also in the chat already. But yeah, feel free to.
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately, I couldn't follow the entire conversation from the beginning. But however, I do understand the challenge that the colleagues have mentioned, as we are merely an exchange project, not an implementing project. And as an architect myself, I do get the discrepancies between what we're trying to do as GIZ, as an international cooperation agency, and then with the local partners, the governmental structures on site, and then there are the actual beneficiaries. So I would say, out of our own experience in Connective Cities, although it's targeting a different approach than many of the bilateral projects, expectation management's very important, because it does help us pinpoint the relevant needs. So when our target group does understand what we can offer, they can identify how can we help them best, because if they just, it is always great to have a participatory approach in the sense of what is it that you need, how can we support you in voicing your concerns, how can we support you in defining like those technical aspects, especially if you're talking with other urban practitioners on a technical operational level. So I think it is a multifaceted network of communication and I would say strategies, and it is challenging, absolutely. But I would say, maybe to your question, Annette, in terms of how can, if anyone has any experience with that, I would say, even as an architect myself, the main point is to be sure that everyone is on the same page, and that's difficult on its own. You know, to have everyone understanding what are we able to offer and what is the local government accepting, you know, because we are all working on this political level, although GIZ is not political, but politics is still part of our work in a way, indirectly. So I think the main challenge is to bring everyone on the same page. And then as soon as that's done, then you can go deeper into the actual technical solutions of the issues. So I would say that is the main challenge anyways. And the way we experienced it, communication clear communication and being aware of the right wording to address these issues in that context, because the term of I don't know, creating a certain solution in Uganda might be different than in Jordan or in Georgia or in Ukraine, for example. So I would say be familiar with the right wording so that misunderstandings would be avoided. And to be honest, what we saw helped was repetition of the agreements that everyone had and keeping everyone in the loop. So it is tedious to kind of keep up all those communications, especially if you're somewhere else and you're not on site, and then there are so many components that you need to consider. But even from a technical perspective, if the designer doesn't know what he's or she's allowed to do, they will just think of something and then you need to retrace that, change it, and so on and so forth. So it is a challenge, but I think we're all facing that together. So maybe that helps so that we can all kind of try to learn from each other's experiences and not go through the same struggles over and over again. And yeah, that's basically it.
Thanks, Martina. I think that's quite nice because it's what we want to do actually, to have this peer learning and peer advisory. I think there is a lot of experience and knowledge here already, and that's the idea. So we'll certainly have to follow up on this. But yeah, Charlotte, to you.
Yeah, thanks. I would like to pick up also this this comment on what is our role as GIZ, and I think. Martina, you made a valid point. We're not the institution who actually put infrastructure on the road. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to see that. And I was working as an urban planner, so just putting a line on the road saying this is the bike lane is fantastic because people can see the white stripe, you know. But that's not our role. And I think also we need to reflect on that, how to communicate and how to set up projects if if that's not our mandate. And we were also, and I just want to share learnings from Kochi and Coimbatore. I mean, we had those discussions with the partner. How far can we go? What is the expectation? I mean, nobody expected COVID, yeah, but still, they had Kochi had some higher expectations, but also they supported us in kind of paving the way because they already put budget notes in their budget for implementing our ideas. But due to COVID, due to the management part of dealing with 3 teams sitting even in different countries, creating a common vision and a DPR, which was in the end not a real DPR, that hindered the process. So of course the partner was like, hey, we actually passed away. So why is the document not in place? You know, like again, a kind of a mismanagement, but yeah, I think we should really keep it in mind. And we also had discussions in the appraisal mission for this phase with KfW, and we talked about what we did. And there's like, hey, we are the party kind of who jumps in there. You know, it's like, yes, so we have to have a conversation about it. You know, again, so which stakeholders to involve also from GIZ side, and again, reflecting on our role. What can we do, and where to go? And wait, I had one last point. No, I think I will stop with this, but I would really love to continue those discussions because I really feel the energy that there's a need to talk about it further.
Yes, Charlotte, we have planned to also try to collect how to go further, but before that, there's still Sandra on the list.
Yeah, just one point with the expectation management and listening to the conversation. And I've been a participant at one point in such consultation, not in a developing country, but nevertheless. So I understand the frustration. I wonder though, so this is Blue Sky thinking, why can't we, I mean, perhaps not in Annette's case, I don't know it in detail, but in the competition, right, and maybe you have done this, you know, something low cost, no regret option that, something that doesn't cost much, but is something, a sign, a visible sign. Because if I just imagine I'm in this place, I would love to be in Kochi, walk around. And I think if people in that area see some change, where you actually see something on the ground, that is motivating. And you see some progress, right? We all know it in our cities. Something changed, you goes, oh, that's nice, or what have they done there? Anyway, you have some sort of a reaction. I think if projects could be set up, that there's something that doesn't cost so much and that's possible to implement, maybe that's something, you know, at least some tangible thing is there in the end when the project's gone, apart from paper and paving the way, which of course is incredibly important, but something a bit more visible, maybe. You have experience with that.
Edith?
Yeah, this actually, Sandra, goes exactly in my direction as we prepared also projects like that, a project like that together. You know, it's always good to have some sample. And I would say to Charlotte, it really depends a little bit also on the country. I think GIZ is actually physically doing a lot of building work. It depends a little bit on the style of project, of the country and so on. But to realize something in a competition like what we did in Lviv in Ukraine some years back, we started in 2010, and it was, you know, small public space that was then finished in 2016 and had actually a cooperation between different partners, city administration as one of them and other institutions beyond the project. So, you know, to start with something small and co-finance and so on is key for getting this on the road, and then can be continued, you know, by people who are already involved. And so I think, yeah, it's absolutely best, of course, to use the funds that there are also for something minor, and don't call it building work because it's already problematic and so on. But it's, you know, definitely worthwhile to try to push it over the limit of paperwork and talking.
Right. Very valid. I think we need perhaps also a database. I was thinking also on what is possible in each country, perhaps like learnings also from different countries, so that we know in certain countries. And I'm thinking about my home country in Brazil, where I actually have the experience that people start doing the things already. They don't wait. Like there is a lot of energy where the co-creation coming from everyone living in a city that is not giving what they want, that they are doing it. They are taking like in their hands. And I would see also this perspective of to say where can you also expect from beneficiaries or from inhabitants that they also co-create and they also actually do something, also not expect also only things to be done for them. Yeah, that's good idea. We will continue this conversation. Now, I wanted to really have for the last 9 minutes, we have to have our little checkout that we have prepared, because in the end, it's about this how do we take up this discussion further? This has been very rich, and I think that even though the questions that the Indian colleagues have brought have not been that in depth discussed, the digital ones, I think we can have another meeting for that. So let's try to see how do we proceed with this topic. And I posted a link in the chat. It's a Flinger, a board. Last time on the TurboClip meeting we used it. Perhaps it's quite straightforward for you to use it. We need 2 sticks, the yellow one and the red one. And the yellow one is just for you to answer what are you taking home with you from the event. And I will share my screen just in a bit. And the green one is how to take this topic forward. Do we have concrete next steps? Can we agree on like moving forward and how? So let me share my screen. I hope you can all access the link and just type in, and we can then start also liking post-its that you were putting. Exactly. So the idea is actually now that we just have a little bit of feedback from you, what you were taking home from the event in a general sense, and how do we concretely proceed with this? What can we do now with the several points that we were not able to discuss, the concrete examples that are available? How can we agree on something, how to continue with the discussion? And I'm saying that, and Charlotte, then you can perhaps jump in, because the idea, and Charlotte is so passionate about this topic that we wanted to have some kind of peer sessions, right? So this is one of the things that have been posted here. Peer-to-peer advice sessions on concrete projects. I think that would make a lot of sense. So Annette was already in touch with Charlotte, but perhaps, yeah, there are other formats or the projects or the ideas or the interest peers that want to bring in. Iris, I'm seeing you. I think we have to include you in our list as well in kind, if you can. Okay, then yeah, we are still sitting on the same boat. That's taking it from home, not UDC's, but for UDC's sake, of course. There are a lot of possibilities for further collaboration, some good insights and inspiration regarding expectation management. Thanks for that. Graduation of the process to next step, low-cost pilot projects. So perhaps collecting kind of ideas on this, right? The no regret, low-cost things that can be done.
And Lucy, since so also
yes.
Fatina posted in the chat that we can maybe take this up to the thematic forum. We already had also discussions about that, and also Georg Jansen, who was the former AV of the SUDSC one project, we had a discussion about even making the theme broader. I mean, now we talk about urban design competitions, but generally it is about participatory integrated instruments for urban development. And even in our UDC, we used several instruments. So also our idea was how to discuss those instruments for different themes, maybe for waste management or for special use participation or stuff like that. So even making the picture broader under this instrument umbrella.
I think that's making a lot of sense because it's all related, right? And there are different instruments and there are different ways of calling urban living labs, urban labs or whatever. So, but it's all about co-creation, participatory dialogue and so on. So I think I know that the sector project cities that they are looking on something like this now from a more academic perspective. There's something that should be a study coming up, and perhaps we also need to touch base with them also if we are putting it a bit broader and doing it also beyond only urban design competitions, but looking at participation. Then I think there is also then a lot of topics that can be included as well. I don't see any raised hand. If you want to comment, also continue commenting, Charlotte, or also the other colleagues from the project. So there are a few post-its here. I would like to exchange as concrete interest abilities and set up a cooperation between Kochi. And Kampala. Okay, that's nice. So we are seeing some city south-south cooperation here. Strategy to institutionalize such practice. Yeah, that's important. Exchange in the thematic forum in June. I'm not sure about the plans in the thematic forum, Annette, but perhaps you can also help us here and see how we can further develop it. So in any case, Charlotte, I think we are staying on the topic. There is a lot of energy and a lot of interest and a lot of knowledge in the crowd. So there should be some ideas further from our side. I'm not sure if there's something concrete we can offer already, but I would say let's meet again if that's if that's the concrete enough. When and how we can then prepare.
Lucy,
Charlotte, is this yes?
I already have a specific and clear offer for everyone. So if you have an established good practice, we can gladly share it on our channels, on our website, Connective Cities. So if you're already, this is open to everyone. If you have a good practice from your partner city, or you already know that there are some highlights, great projects that you would like to shed some light on, it's always an open offer to everyone. Reach out to us and we can support you in disseminating and sharing the good practice through our channels as well. So this can be maybe a first step of sharing like transferable, applicable solutions. And this goes to all the regions. So we are working on a global level. So if you think that you have like nominated or a candidate for a good practice that can fit our good practice database, it's not that like rigid. But you can take a look at the good practices on our website and just reach out to us, and we can take it from there. So that's a clear offer to everyone.
No, I think it goes beyond even only what you're talking about. But yeah, I think Charlotte and the team, we will sit together and we will make a bit of a plan, because I think there are different fronts. Just sharing knowledge, like this is something straightforward, but we still need to systematize a bit, like how to do this peer-to-peer exchange as well, or how to perhaps take some extra funds from different projects to do a study or something, like compiling something more concrete. I think we can collect some ideas and then reach out to everyone again and see how to further proceed. Charlotte, yes, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also 2 things. So we applied also for the Kochi Municipal Corporation also applied for the World Urban Forum for a session about the urban design competition and exchanging experiences and have a peer-to-peer platform. This is fantastic. And also in the event, I think Philip is on the call, in end of May, we also are in discussion with our partner from Kochi Municipal Corporation that they participate in a session on co-creation in smart cities. So we hope that they will join. So I think there is a lot of energy, and then I don't know if I'm allowed to have final words here, but or almost final words. I will hand over to Vaishali then. But I'm really grateful, and I think if I see in Fatim's face and Krishna and Nina and Teresa, so and all the colleagues also from our team who joined, thank you so much. It was super fruitful. There's energy. We all deal with similar things. I think it is about a mindset which we bring, which we want to also share with the partners, and I think we're on the right way, and I'm looking forward to keep in touch. Vaishali, back over to you, I guess.
Nice to see you, Iris, after a long time. Yeah, I think this, topic really runs. Yeah, there is a lot of experience that everybody has, but here today, of course, but I'm sure there is much more floating on the ground. The only takeaway for me is expectation management at the beginning and at the end, and probably that is something we really need, to remember with partners. It's a fantastic instrument, and I really look forward probably to applications that go down, and to see how maybe 2 years down the line with SUDSC2, Charlotte, would be good to understand, of what really happened, and were you able to implement some of these beautiful things that you talked about today. So thank you so much, everybody. It was great having you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Keep safe and sound. Many greetings to all. Charlotte, you can stop the recording now.